Thank you, Alexandra, and hello everyone, and thank you very much for being here. It's a real pleasure to connect with you today at this Sustainability Summit. Today is also International Volunteer Day, so before we begin, I would like to take a moment to celebrate all volunteers all around the world who give their time and energy to make projects and communities better, and especially who the all volunteers who make it real this amazing sustainability summit. So let me briefly walk you through what we will explore today. We will look at the real root roots of sustainability challenges, the critical role of project managers, the power of digital construction, and the real case story that brings these ideas to life. This is the roadmap for our session. So before we really begin, I would like to invite you into a short moment, something very simple but very meaningful of our topic. If you feel comfortable, you can gently close your eyes or just soften your gaze and look down. Now picture a city you love, maybe the street where you walked as a child, a building that is part of your memories, a place where you felt safe, inspired, or deeply connected. Now it will be a challenge more. Now imagine that same city 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and 50 years from now. So slowly please open your eyes. Will it be cleaner, greener, smarter, or more resilient? Or will it be heavier, hotter, more fragile, and more demanding for future generations? And the picture on the screen, the left side of this screen, my hometown, Izmir, Turkey. Left side is 20, 25 years ago, and the right side, the same city, and the nowadays, the high-rise buildings. So the interesting thing is this. The answer does not come only from policies, from glossy guidelines, or from sustainable reports. It depends on new role that usually does not stand on the stage. It depends on the project manager. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mehmet Egilmezer. I'm a civil engineer, a project manager, an executive leader, an ICF master certified coach, mentor, and someone who has spent more than 20 years inside real construction, infrastructure, and development projects. My connection of the industry did not start at university. It started in my childhood. While many children played in parks, I often walking through half-built structures, listening to engineers talk on site, watching master craftsmen shape concrete and steel, and trying to understand how a building comes alive step by step. Those early years taught me something that no textbook can really teach. Construction is not an industry. It's not just an industry. It is a living ecosystem. Every decision has a consequence. Every delay creates a ripple effect. Every missing details become cost or waste or carbon emissions or a source of frustration for many years. During my career, I worked in many different roles: site engineer, technical office lead, project management office, head of project management office, executive team member, BIM advocate, educator, and consultant. I saw projects in several countries with different budgets, different expectations, different regulations, and different political realities. And everywhere, without exception, I saw the same main truth. Sustainability does not fail because people do not care. Most people care. It fails because important decisions come too late. So, my session is the latest one. I think you all hear about this, what is sustainability, but I like this definition. So, the goal of sustainable development is to enable all people to satisfy their basic needs and enjoy a better quality of life without compromising the quality of life of future generations. And sustainability is a really balance of environmental, social, and economical impacts of what we are doing. So today is our scope is construction. So I want to speak about sustainability for construction industry. The world's largest consumers of resources, sand, cement, building materials, rebar, and produce significant amounts of waste. One of the least digitalized industries. Buildings are responsible for 40% of global energy consumption and 33% of greenhouse gas emissions. So, in real projects, sustainability problems do not come from a lack of ideas. There are always many ideas. They come from misalignment, late design decisions, fragmented communication, old and rigid workflows, teams working in silos. There are real roots, unsustainable outcomes. Think about how a typical project works. A construction project, I mean, absolutely. Architects imagine what is possible, state of the art. Engineers try to make it technically real. Contractors try to make it buildable. Sustainability experts try to make it responsible. And financiers try to make it affordable. Authorities try to make it compliant. But who integrates all of this into one clear direction? Who has the job to see the whole picture when everybody else is looking only at one part? Again, the answer is the project manager. In the aviation, there is a term, falling behind the plane. It's used when the pilot loses full awareness of the situation. The pilot is no longer ahead of the plane. They are only reacting. What happens? Construction is very similar. When project managers are not included early stage or when they do not have good visibility, the project falls behind the plane. Then we see the symptoms that all of know us. Oversized mechanical rooms, redundant structural elements, huge concrete volumes that could be smaller, rework, clashes, delays on site, a lot of material waste that was not necessary. Carbon heavy solutions chosen only because the time window for better options was already closed. Budgets going down while expectations go up. These are not only sustainability failures, they are coordination and timing failures. For many years, the language of sustainability was mostly about reduction. Reduce carbon, reduce energy, reduce water, reduce waste. Of course, reduction is important, but in fast growing cities and economies, reduction alone is not enough. We need buildings, infrastructure, and systems that more than just less harm. We need them to create new value, improve well being, and increase resilience over time. This is where the idea of regeneration comes in. Regeneration is not about only doing less damage, it is about creating more positive impact. And interestingly, regeneration does not usually come from adding expensive technology at the end of the design. It happened in the early stages when everything is still flexible, cheaper to change, and easier to influence. This is why project managers are so important. They are the guardians of the early phase. They look after scope, the timeline, the integration of disciplines, the risk map, the procurement strategy, and the digital approach. The earlier the project manager acts, the more sustainable and regenerative projects can become. The later the project managers enter the real game, the more expensive sustainability becomes, and sometimes it becomes almost impossible. So let me explain clearly what I want you to take from this talk. I want to talk with you through four main lenses that can change how we think about sustainability in construction projects. These four lenses are the shift from sustainability to regeneration and why this shift changes everything, the often invisible influence of the project manager on long term sustainability outcomes, the role of digital construction as a decision engine, not just a group of software tools. Real project story showing how early integration transformed cost, carbon, and coordination. My goal is not to give you a perfect theory. My goal is to give you clarity. Clarity that you can carry into your next project, your next meeting, and your next decision, maybe. Many people still think project managers are mainly about schedules, contracts, and coordination meetings. In reality, project managers manage consequences. They manage the consequences of an early inception, the consequences of missing drawing, the consequence of an oversized beam, the consequence of a late mechanical decision, the consequences a siloed conversation, the consequences of building without proper modeling. Across my career, I learned one simple truth. The cost of good project management is quite small. The cost of bad decisions is extremely large. Every time we spend 1 hour in early coordination, we avoid many tons of uncertain, unnecessary concrete. Every time we clarify scope early, we save carbon, money, and time. So, project managers do not simply add cost. Good project managers prevent cost. And this is one of the strongest foundations of real sustainability. Digital construction is often seen only as a software topic, but actually, digital construction is a decision making environment. It gives us visibility into many things we cannot normally see: unused volumes, redundant structural mass, unnecessary thickness, coordination conflict hidden in complex models, old carbon heavy assumptions that move from one version to the next. In many countries, most buildings use more concrete than they truly need. This is usually not because people are bad or lazy. It is because nobody had clear visibility early enough to optimize the design. Every unnecessary cubic meter of concrete means extra cost, extra carbon, extra weight, extra operational energy, and extra maintenance for the future. And most of this is avoidable if we make good decisions early. Now, let me use a simple metaphor to make this idea even clearer. Building information modeling is the camera, sustainability is the lens, and the project manager is the person who holds the camera. If you have a powerful camera but no lens, but you never use the camera again, you do not see anything. When you bring them together, BIM as the camera, sustainability as the lens, you can look at the project in a completely different way. You can zoom in on specific problems. You can zoom out to see the full context. You can focus on what really matters. But all of this only happens if someone actually picks up the camera and decides where to look. That person is the project manager. So, BIM alone is not enough. Sustainability ideas alone are not enough. We need project managers who use BIM, building information modeling, the camera, through a sustainability lens to take the right pictures of the project at the right time and then make better decisions. When digital modeling, early BIM, and discipline coordinated work together, the project becomes lighter, cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable almost naturally, not by forcing things at the end. I would like to show you a short 1 minute video.
I think we can't hear the video, so there is no voice.
Really?
They're ever
Now?
in the same place, with the right data at the right time to drive the right decisions. It
Thank you very much.
takes the power to deliver, to boost productivity, improve quality, to champion sustainability, connecting the people, the processes, and the data through every phase of a project. It takes absolute confidence from Trimble Connected Construction to embrace change and drive digital transformation, to root out inefficiencies and exploit opportunities, accelerating the pace of your success, no matter what the future holds. Trimble Connected Construction. Deliver with confidence.
So, all of this brings me to a real project example because theories can inspire us, but stories can truly change us. This example comes from a large scale project, but the principles apply to any type of project: buildings, factories, infrastructure, or urban districts. When I first joined this project, construction had already started. Foundations were being poured. Structural frames were going up. Mechanical designs were almost fixed. The project team was working very hard, but still struggling with coordination problems, cost pressures, and sustainability expectations that felt unrealistic. I'm sure many of you have seen similar situations. From the outside, everything looked fine, but when we went deeper into the drawings, the workflows, and the models, we found another reality: rooms that were bigger than they needed to be, concrete that was heavier than necessary, service routes that were overlapping, mechanical rooms that used twice the space needed, carbon calculations that were disconnected from real design choices. Not because people were careless, but because decisions were made without true integration. This is usually the moment when many teams panic. But I look at it differently. Yes, the project was already under construction, but the most powerful decisions were still open. The structure, the flows, the systems, they were still flexible enough to optimize. This is exactly where the regenerative mindset begins. We started one simple rule. Before we make any design or cost decision or change, we ask, does this create long-term value or long-term burden? That one question slowly changed the project culture. In the structural review, for example, we found many conservative assumptions repeating again and again. This is very common, and engineers want safety. Suppliers like over design. Contractors like strong, robust structures. Each of these is understandable, but together they create huge carbon footprints and millions of dollars of unnecessary material. We introduced early phase beam supported structural optimization. We reviewed spans, we adjusted beam depths, we removed unnecessary thickness, we standardized repetitive dimensions, we removed unused structural zones. Each single optimization was small, but together they changed the project significantly. The results were very clear: less concrete, less steel, less weight, lower embodied carbon, faster construction, better long term energy performance, significant cost reduction. We did not do this by adding sustainability at the end. We did it by removing things that should not be there in the first place. This is regenerative engineering, not designing more, but designing better. We also looked at the mechanical rooms in many buildings, especially large ones, back of houses areas are very inefficient. Not because engineers are weak, but because there is rarely enough time to integrate space planning, map routing, and structural design in the early stages. So equipment rooms become bigger, corridors become wider, unused volumes increase, and the building becomes heavier, more expensive, unused volumes. We re-coordinated the mechanical rooms with a clear building information workflows, clean mechanical zooms, compact and efficient equipment layout, centralized distribution of pipes, reduced duct length, removal of conflicts, optimized slab openings. The result was a cleaner, simpler, more maintainable design that saved material, energy, and carbon for many years into the future. One of the biggest cultural changes in this project was moving away from a reactive mindset. Most construction teams live in firefighting mode. What problem do we fix today? What conflict do we remove this week? What cost item do we adjust this month? This way of working does not create sustainable outcomes. It only creates survival. We shifted the team from reacting to designing with foresight. Instead of waiting for issues to appear, we tried to predict them. Instead of using meetings only to discover conflicts, we used digital simulations, digital twin. Instead of siloed decisions, we created integrated workshops with clear information flow. We changed the main question from how do we reduce cost today to how we prevent cost tomorrow. This is where the project manager becomes a real catalyst. Project managers move between all disciplines, all stakeholders, and all timelines. They often the only people who see the full chessboard. They understand how small change in design can create a large change in cost, risk, schedule, and carbon footprint. There is an uncomfortable truth in many projects. We collect a lot of data, but we make decisions with very little of it. Models, spreadsheets, PDF files, long emails, information in people's heads. Data is only useful and only sustainable when it becomes usable. So we created what I call a decision engine, a workflow where each important decision is informed by digital visibility. This included structural optimization, energy performance predictions, daylight simulations, carbon impact estimates, life cycle cost mapping, equipment efficiency checks, spatial utilization analysis, alignment with procurement strategy. This is how teams move from guesswork to confident and transparent decision making. The most dramatic improvements did not come from technology itself. They came from alignment. When stakeholders truly share the same understanding, architects design better, engineers coordinate better, contractors build better, clients decide better, sustainability experts integrate better, communities benefit more. Alignment is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated sustainable tools in the world. We define shared goals for the project, reduce unnecessary mess, improve flow efficiency, minimize lifecycle cost, maximize long-term adaptability, lower carbon embodied carbon, increase operational resilience, simplify maintenance. Then we made every discipline responsible for these goals, not only for their own narrow scope. That is regenerative leadership. One of my favorite parts of this project was watching how the team changed over time. People were very defensive, became more open and collaborative. People who were always in a hurry became more thoughtful. People who worked alone started to connect earlier with others. People who accepted waste as normal began to question it. Sustainability stopped being a checkbox or a requirement. It became a way of thinking. The structural engineer started asking, do we really need this much concrete? The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineer began to ask, can we route this in a more efficient way? The architect asked, how can we optimize the envelope? The cost controller asked, how can we prevent future costs, not only control current costs? And the project manager, the integrator, kept everyone aligned and focused. People often ask me, Mehmet, how did you convince the client to support these sustainability moves? My answer is always simple. I did not mainly talk about sustainability. I talk about value. One of the biggest misunderstandings in our industry is sustainability is too expensive. In the reality, what is expensive? Late decisions, rework, over-designed systems, heavy and insufficient structures, poor coordination, expensive. Sustainability itself is not the enemy. Inaccuracy is expensive. Delay is expensive. Fragmentation is expensive. It becomes a smart financial strategy. And this is a message we need to send clearly around the world. So, in this context, the project manager is not just a coordinator. The project manager is the guardian of timing, the owner of integration, the protector of clarity, and enabler of long term value. No sustainability roadmap can really work without project managers who lead proactively. We live in a world where cities are growing very fast, resources are under pressure, climate impacts are stronger, Budgets are limited. Expectations are high. The only realistic and responsible path forward is a regenerative path. A path where every project becomes lighter, smarter, cleaner, cheaper, and more resilient because of the way it is managed, not in spite of it. Sustainability should not be a mystery. It should not depend on a luck. It should not be a last minute effort. It should be a system, predictable, measurable, transparent, and aligned with human well being and financial sense. And when project managers learn how to work with the system, they do more than deliver projects. They help shape cities. They help shape economies. They help shape the future. This is the real power of our profession. So let us now move from the story to the structure behind the story to the actionable model of regenerative digital project management, where sustainability becomes not just a concept, not just a trend, not only a certificate, but a measurable, repeatable, and financially intelligent way of delivering projects, from the first sketch to the final handover. Now, let's move into practical heart of the session. We already look at the story, challenges, and the power of early integration. What is important question here? What makes this transformation repeatable? What turns sustainability from a nice intention into a predictable structured outcome? This is where the regenerative digital project management framework begins. Every successfully and truly sustainable project starts before design, before procurement, even before the first drawing. It starts with clarity, clarity of purpose, clarity of expectations, clarity of value, clarity of risk, clarity of data. And the project manager is the person who must collect, structure, and protect this clarity. And I would like to explain early decision versus late decisions, sustainability. Early stage decisions are cheaper, faster, cleaner, easier to integrate, more flexible, less risky, lower in carbon, less emotional and political, more strategic. Late decisions are the opposite: expensive, slow, rigid, political, and very carbon heavy. Regenerative transformation does not happen in the last 10% of the project. It happens in the first 10% of the project. So, as I explained, digital tools are used in a very limited way. Teams open BIM models only to check coordination or only export drawings. This is a big waste of potential. Digital construction is not just a modeling service. It is a decision intelligence system.
Mehmet, we cannot hear you, I think. I don't know if there's some technical problem or you're presenting something.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Now I'm continue.
Okay, soon we need to start Q&A because we only have 4 minutes. So just to let you know.
Okay, I'm summarizing then. So paste this here. I have prepared this presentation. I think 45 minutes.
Yeah, the session should finish 5:55. So yeah.
So, okay, then explain the culture. Culture is the ultimate sustainability tool. Culture decides how early decisions are made, how transparent teams are, how much rework appears, how open people are to optimization, how data is shared, how alignment is maintained. And the person who shapes project culture more than anyone else is the project manager. So, constraints. Why the project managers at the center of this change? Because nobody else sees the crossroads of every project decisions. Project managers hold four key powers: timing, integration, data visibility, value alignment. These four keys unlock regenerative transformation. From my experience, there are three types of project managers: administrators, coordinators, and regenerative leaders shapes the future. And the summit in this topic are really about the third type, because the world does not need more administrator. It needs more regenerative leaders. If we forget everything else from today, please remember this. Sustainability is not something you add at the end of a project. Sustainability emerges from the way the project is managed. Regenerative management is early, integrated, transparent, value driven, digital, predictive, collaborative, and practical. So, digital transformation and sustainable transformation are often seen as two separate journeys. They are not. They are two halves of the same intelligence system. Digital tools gives us visibility. Sustainability principles give us direction. Project managers give us leadership. The intersection of these three is the regenerative future. So let me close with something personal. When I was child, walking through a construction site with my father, I did not understand why people looked both stressed and passionate at the same time. Now I understand. They were building the future under imperfect conditions. Today, we are doing exactly the same. But now we also have better tools, better data, and more knowledge. We have the chance to build a future that is not only functional, but regenerative.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Mehmet, for your presentation. I think we need to conclude here. I see many questions in the chat, but I think that please reach on LinkedIn or in the chat with Mehmet that he replied.